saying 2, do they normally do every 3 months, every 6 months? Is it up to us?
He didn't say. Find out.
Twice or 4 times a year,
Twice to 4 times.
whether you need 1,000 copies or 20,000 copies, or if you mail the newsletter out once, twice or 4 times a year. There's never a cost.
What for that?
Yeah.
Other than
Never a
mailing?
cost. Okay.
Well, what's everybody's thoughts on it?
I'm okay with
Doing one this year and one maybe beginning of next year?
it. Yeah,
Get the 2 thing and
yeah, if we did one this year,
if it
about
goes,
next year roughly.
if it goes well, we can budget more for it,
For next year.
if it's well received.
I so,
What's that?
I so moved to do a newsletter.
We're good with that. I mean, I don't know if it's worth seeing, I mean, is this a local company? Or if there's others out there? I don't know. I know this one kind of contacted us,
He
so.
did, and he said it
Came
was
with the
free,
price
so.
tag free.
Free.
Yeah, so I was
Free.
interested.
It's a qualified free.
We at least don't have to pay for the color printing.
Right.
That is a big savings, there's not having to print out all of them.
The time zone into there.
Yeah. When would we think about the first one going out then, or
Mid-year,
mid-year, July 1st, somewhere around
June,
there?
July, yeah.
Definitely with enough time to advertise
What's
for
that?
parking.
Yeah,
How's it purchasing, okay.
Yep.
All right,
Okay, so,
yeah, I'll make a,
Get the motion for it.
yeah, I think so. I'll make a motion to have Lisa work with Hometown Press on a 2-issue trial of a township newsletter. With- yeah. I think that's enough. You want a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Rhodes?
Yeah, I have a comment. Before, if you gentlemen look back, we had about 4 different letters. I got copies of all the letters that were sent out to the residents. And before, it used to be, they went to each department, like the road department, the police department, that have input in the planning commission, historical commission. And that's what you get your input of what's going on in this community. Right, you should talk about the regional, about Coastville and stuff like that, but also the need of the township. You see, we just have a big change over the parks. You have 2 great candidates now. You have to let the public know the needs. The only people that knows the needs are the people that come to the meetings, all right, or hearsay. And basically, that's what you should do. You only got 1 bid there. One year, we had Westchester University do the printing, and it was, I forget how much it wasn't that much money, and they did a great one. I have a copy of it. So tonight, you're making a motion on one company that whoever went out there and looked for it. There's a lot of companies out there, and there's a lot of organizations that would do it almost just for the material. All right, so that's what's the other thing you look at. You look at Westchester University, which is 16,000. They have a printing over there, and they have helped us, but it costs, but not. I don't know what you. I can't hardly hear. One thing I do want you to do. You all have a mic up there. Speak up, and if the treasurer and the secretary is going to talk, I would like them to have a mic over there. I have a hearing aid, and there's a lot of people can't hear, so I would appreciate that as a person that comes to all the meetings. But I would, the rubber stamp, and I make a motion, I second, all in favor, yeah, fine, you got one price. This newsletter needs to come out. It hasn't come out for a couple of years, all right, and it's a great idea. But let's look around for, we're all worried about the budget. We see what happened, with the budget this year, and all of a sudden we're getting a real estate tax. I want the supervisors to look around. Yourself, you can talk, not of your professionals, so you do have contact. Bankers, school people, professional computers, and residents. Let us check around. I just told you one, Westchester University. So I would check on the other ones. You have, I didn't hear the cost
The
tonight.
cost on it is free.
Pardon?
The cost
It's
on it is
free.
free.
It's free.
Free,
Just
everything free.
mailing.
Well, other than the,
The
we have to
Well,
pay
they're
the
gonna
postage.
advertise it.
First, oh, okay.
They're gonna
That's one
advertise.
thing I couldn't hear, see, I went to.
right.
All right, so if you get up there and talk up instead of having your hands in your mouth, all right? You know, I gotta be able to hear you, all right? Thank you.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have got up and said anything, if it was for nothing, I wouldn't have said anything, I'm all for that.
Mr. King?
I know in the past, we used to have Easter,
Easter egg hunt.
yes, for the kids. This year, do we have one this year? No. That's one of the reasons, you know, we didn't have one. But it's something to know about, you know, for that. Thank you.
Any other- Mrs. Scott?
Well, you know, one big thing that's happening is the repair of the covered bridge. It'd be nice maybe to have a historical write-up regarding the bridge. I think that's very,
I agree.
they're rare, so I think
Yes.
that would be a wonderful,
There we go.
almost a whole page or at least a half a page.
Perfect.
We got some new pictures we'll post up out here too,
Excellent.
from the bridge, because they just poured footers down.
Can we get that online too?
And that's, see,
Yeah.
well, the only thing I didn't want to bring up about the historical, we had passing pictures, and I have a lot of Mortonville, Towerville, and we were talking about, and the supervisor in the past, said to put it up on the website, the pictures, and let the public know. A lot of you gentlemen and ladies don't know where some of these sites are, and they're in the township, and they're one of the very, you know, Mortonville is one of the high, and Towerville, and of course out toward Ursuline. There's a lot of historical sites in this township that we are trying to keep, and the residents are fixing them up. But that was supposed to, it was turned in, so I'll just let that lay where the ball was dropped, all right? But the ball has to be picked up for the public to see what we do have in this township. Thank you.
Buddy, are you aware, I do have some, of the covered bridge pictures on the website.
Yeah, I'm talking about the pictures, and I'll bring, I know the lady that does pictures in the township. She lives out near Ursuline there. She brought them in, because I gave them to her, and she made up beautiful copies of all the sites, Mortonville Bridge, all the covered bridges, just like the ones you see here. You know, some of them on private property, and that was done by supervisors years ago. But they were given to the department in here, all right, the office. And I'm not gonna get into where the ball was dropped, but it has to be picked up, and it has to be put on the website. Yeah, you're talking about the covered bridge, I'm talking about all the other pictures. And I'll bring them back up,
If you
and I
want-
have her give them to you,
Yeah.
and I'll give each one of the supervisors one, that way I know somebody got them, all right?
If you bring some in, we can put them up. As long as the board's okay with it.
Mrs. Scott?
Another thing would have been, it might be too late, but the wonderful ball team programs that the township, I still hear about the Fallowfield Phillies. So, you know, maybe young families moving in aren't aware that we have for young girls, the Fallowfield Phillies, you know, to sign up and blah, 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 blah. So
Okay,
that's a nice thing to put on.
thank you. All right, all those in favor? Aye.
All my kids put it.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Paylocity?
I've just been having a couple small issues with Paylocity, such as accruals and tax deduction errors, which in turn affect the bank reconciliations. I've spent hours on the phone trying to get some of these things resolved and corrected with them. I've just become frustrated that in order to get like a $2.40 error corrected, that it takes multiple calls on my end to get it fixed. Most of the time, without explanation on their part on how it can be avoided in the future. So I can't tell whether the errors are something that I'm doing when I'm entering in people, or whether it's something on their end on how things are pointed and directed. But I've spent over 2 months trying to get the accruals to print properly on all of our employees' pay stubs, and I think we finally have the policy chart corrected for individuals, but the individual employee banks need to be individually audited and changed per what Nancy has correct and what I have for the road crew. After a couple lengthy conversations with their management and some apologies from them, they've agreed to waive the next payroll billing fee. It's typically around $300, but they're doing it in order to apologize or appease me in this situation. I will happily accept their waiving of the next fee. I'm more or less writing them that if we didn't get some resolution, that I would consider talking with the board about taking our business elsewhere, and I'm still considering the alternative of going back to a standard type of payroll company, but at this time, for now, with the board's consent, obviously, I would like to continue using Paylocity. I wanted to share this information more so that you guys know, and I have on record that there's things that have been going on with it, and that I have been having issues, but hopefully, I mean, we've switched them for cost savings, but I'm starting to wonder whether the cost savings is really worth it, considering how much time it's taking me in order to get things fixed. That was the muni billing and e-billing issue. I had a resident call after they received a Portnoy letter, and he said that they had never received a bill. We went through their account, we confirmed the address, we confirmed that they were set up for e-bill only, and that their email address was correct. So the resident made a really specific point that they received the bill. Had they received it, they would have paid it, and they would have never allowed it to go to collections. Regardless, I ended up contacting Muni Billing, and we discovered that the last set of emailed bills was sent in April of 2015. Residents on email bill only would have consequently not received any further bills for 2015 and 2016. So I realized that this created two different issues. One, those 50-some residents had not received a bill for 2016. The first quarter payments were due on 2/29 of this year, and we found that 53 residents who signed up for e-bill only, these residents had not received it since April. 18 of them still did manage to make a payment on time, but there were 35 residents who had not received the bill and had incurred late fees for not paying for the deadline. Muni Billing sent out the bill to the 35 residents, giving them until April 30th to pay. And they also removed the $5 late fees for those accounts since they had no bill in order to know that they needed to pay. Those customers will resume regular quarterly billing schedule, just like the rest of the residents.
So no late fees were assessed then?
They were assessed, but we
So
waived them. So
right,
for
that's
those
right,
35
yeah.
people who did not get it, then we waived those late fees for them since they did not get that bill.
Did they fix the email issue on their end?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So we will make sure that when they send out the bills, that I remind them to also send out the e-bills.
Okay.
They have apologized profusely, but it is what it is. The second issue that I brought up was that from those residents who had not received e-bills since April of 2015, 8 of those residents were sent to Portnoy for 2015 after not receiving the bill. So I had Muni Billing compare the list of outstanding accounts to those that are only email billing, and again, 8 residents were sent to collection. My question for the board would be, what is the fairest way to proceed? Since they stopped receiving notice halfway through the year, should I suspend collections with Portnoy, or should I wait to see if the residents dispute the collection and just pay it?
No, I mean, you're saying it's 8 residents?
There's 8 residents who received Portnoy letters, and
I would say my opinion would be work with Portnoy to get those waived, because that's an issue on Muni Billing's end. And we're kind of the middlemen there, but, I mean, that would be my opinion. Anybody else?
I agree with you, Steve.
It's not the residents' fault that Muni Billing didn't have their stuff together.
I can proceed with contacting those 8 residents and maybe seeing if they can pay their bill directly here to the township. I know typically we don't accept payments here, but if we send it in through, if they send it into the lockbox, it'll come in as 2016 and it'll mess up their 2016 account. Same thing with if they paid online on the credit card system. So they would have to make either a direct payment to us here, or I think Portnoy said technically they might be able to get their system to accept it, but I prefer to kind of keep them out of it so that way they're not in collection.
Okay. It's fine. Payroll law course? Payroll law course?
Oh, payroll law course, yes. I attended a payroll law course on 315 at the Lancaster Code in Lancaster. We went over employee classifications such as exempt versus non-exempt, the misclassification of 1099 workers versus employees, what the Fair Labor Standards Act, or FLSA, does and does not require of employers, essential need for record keeping of all time worked, all time taken off, and maintenance of the records for at least 3 years. Any compensations received by an employer constitutes as wages and subject to employment taxes. So gift cards, bonuses, advances, sick time, and the need to do an internal audit as soon as possible for every employee for their I-9. We do not have completed I-9s on file for every single employee. It is supposed to be done within 3 days of hiring from the company, and from the spot checking that I've done, it is not done that way. So I'll need to start an HR project, and they suggested that I call it an internal audit and document it as such, and basically say, as of this date, we did an internal audit and redo the forms, and this is kind of, I mean, it doesn't change the mistake that was made, but at the same time, it is takes and shows a proactivity that you're trying to do something to correct it, so that way you do not receive any issue with it. Mortonville road dumping, Tag said that him and the gentleman of the road crew pulled 56 tires off of the side of Mortonville Road that were illegally dumped. We have to pay at least $1.50 to $2 plus per tire or more, depending on the size of these tires. Where does the money technically come to pay for this? We're taking suggestions on what we can do to stop people from illegally dumping there. Video cameras, fake video cameras, I don't know.
That's a shame. So there's a what, $1.50 per tire?
Every tire we have to pay to actually dispose of. I don't know, Tag, you might know.
And the best part about it, the tires that we picked up, most of them were cut in the middle, so that tells me that somebody's picking these tires up somewhere at tire places, because the tire guys cut these tires in half so that nobody can use them. So most of the tires we've been picking up are cut down the middle. But, I mean, we can't keep going around picking up 56, 70 tires.
That's ridiculous. I mean, we need to dispose of them, obviously, but
No one, I think, no,
I don't know.
Nolanville was 56 tires, and today we're doing the roadside down on Mortonville, and we picked up another 15 or 16 tires.
From you.
I don't know, I mean,
Oh, yeah, they come from
do we patrol down
Yeah,
there?
we do, every day. They go out in the middle of the night sometimes, or not in that area.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's just one of those things that you can't really control unless you are physically in that location.
Tell them what we found yesterday, Chief.
What's
Tell them
that?
what we found yesterday on the road. Concrete.
Oh, concrete.
Somebody dumped concrete, going down the road, pulled the bed, dumped it right on the road, and kept going. Another 200 feet, dumped another load, kept right on going. That was on Fairview Road yesterday afternoon,
Nice.
at about 3:15, 3:30.
I mean, if there's anything we can do to help with that, please let us know. I mean, that's,
Just try to tell the residents, if they ever see anything like that, they don't have to do anything but write the tag number down, and then report it to the police. If you see anything like that, just write, don't get in an argument with nobody, just
Yeah.
take the tag number down.
tag. I mean, that's a shame, that somebody would do that. But I mean, if we're picking them up, we need to dispose of them. I mean, that's, at this point, it's not a huge cost, but if it's $1.50 or so per tire, but hopefully we can get this to slow, so. It's ridiculous. Centric.
Centric Business System, they came in and we had an initial meeting on having our documents scanned for archiving. Having their document manager, Tony, come in and meet with me next Tuesday and suggestions on how to proceed and what other townships are in terms of how to set up the archiving structure. It's one thing to have all the documents scanned, but if we can't actually pull them and know what is inside of those documents, the scan is useless to us. I had reached out to DocStar, but they never ended up following back up with us, but I will reach out to them again.
Like, I mean, I know this is a project and a budget, but it would still need to be multiple quotes to go with anybody, so.
Absolutely.
Is this just getting the quotes ready?
Yes, yes. Trying to do some research, seeing what other townships have done.
Right, I mean,
how
I
it
still
would work.
think we have a project ahead of us of understanding what we have, what we need to keep, and what we can get rid of, or what we can get shredded, be honest, that's something that I think should be done before we scan. Just so we're not scanning documents we really don't. And I know, we've asked solicitors before about that, and it's different based on what kind of documents it is, so it's probably a bigger project, but, I think if we get that in order first, that'll make the document scanning process a lot easier. So I don't know what's involved in that, but, whatever we have, we can classify it and see what, retention dates are, and archive dates and all that. That'll help us, and that'll also help drive the future for scanning documents in and knowing when they can be removed and deleted safely, because they're no longer need to be retained. So I think that needs to be a big part of the project, in my opinion. Office, new business?
No, I was just going to find out when I could meet with our liaison, but I will follow up in an email. That was all I have.
Anyone on the board have any new business?
I have a question.
Sure.
I happened to be here, I stopped one day, I think a few weeks ago, and I overheard there is a DEP violation for Weaver Mulch. What's the status of that?
What violation?
DEP. I have not heard that go by. Is tag of you or anything?
That's first I heard that.
Would Rob know? Can we check with Rob then?
Yeah, and that's the name that I heard.
Rob, yeah.
And I just wanted to know, what the status, where that status is,
Yeah.
and how it's going to relate to us.
Yep. Anything else, new business on the board? All right, public comment?
It goes to what Mr. Lambert was saying. Right after the barn burned down, which was somewhere in I don't remember when it was, I happened to drive back from the auto mechanic, with somebody who worked there, and he was explaining to me, because I was curious how they fought the fire, because apparently somebody had said that hydrants, there were issues with the hydrants that day. And what they did was, I don't know exactly how they put it out, but I asked about using that pond water, which is the runoff that comes from the huge mounds of mulch that they make. And he explained to me that they use that to spray certain products there for coloring them. Now, that was what was said to me by a worker that actually worked at Weaver's. So, if it's coming out of the pond, which is the residue of nitrates, and they're using it for the coloring process to make certain colored mulches, then that stuff's going to seep back down, and that could be why some of the nitrates in that area are as high as it is, because they're having high nitrates. When we did the water thing with Penn State, we took a sample from a nearby well, and the nitrates were pretty high. I can't say for sure, but if you're using that pond water that's the runoff, and you're respraying it, you could be adding more nitrates to the soil. I don't know if that is what's going on there. Maybe somebody
Yeah,
caught up with
I
it.
have no idea, I just, I heard, I saw the letter, so I was kind of waiting until I would hear the report.
It might have caught up with them. I mean, that it may or may not, or it might be something else, but that's one of the issues that somebody would want to look into, I think.
Yeah, if we can get an update from Rob on that, that would be great. Other public comment?
I have a couple of questions, Anthony.
Yes.
I'm Erwin Zeller, and I live on Lyons Lane. But first of all, I received the agenda here, and something with regards to reviews, like the police report and board and resident review. Is that supposed to be appended to this, or?
No, that's usually in the back.
Oh, it's in the back?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the review. This is the first time I had the opportunity, I looked at the budget. I know you guys have been over the budget. And there are many, many line items. And I know when it comes to budgets, and oftentimes with government, whether it's federal, state, or local, whenever there's a budget shortfall, taxes go up, or there are new taxes, or there are surcharges. But you know, looking through some, these are some glaring increases in the actual budget in the last 3 years. Example, number one, well, the chief of police goes up 10%. That's pretty, inflation is only like 2%, but that's 10%. Full-time officers' salaries and wages are up almost 50%. So I have a couple of questions there. How many officers full-time do we have, and how many part-time do we have? And why is it going up 50%?
Right. Some of it was we did add additional full-time officers over the last few years.
Do we need them? That's
Yes,
a good
to run
question.
the 24/7 police force, that's where we're at. And as of today, we have,
There's 8 full-timers right now, and there's 3 part-time.
But that's quite a significant increase. And I suppose these are full-time officers' salaries and wages. I'm not sure that number 390,000 includes the 90,000 for the chief, but I think that's a separate item.
correct.
390 for the other officers.
Correct.
Those are the other full-time officers, excluding the other ones. Now, how does that compare to other second-class townships with regards to costs with a population which is similar to East Fallowfield?
I think to some it's similar. I don't have all the numbers in front of me as far as what the other townships are. I know we've looked at that before.
And I look at this as, you know, from a taxpayer standpoint, we're all taxpayers. And it just seems to me that oftentimes, again with government, if there's a shortfall, you increase the taxes. Why doesn't one look at the actual line items and see what perhaps could be reduced? And maybe somebody does. And I don't know about the financial expert you're going to have come in here, but I would suppose one of the responsibilities would be to look at all the items and see what can be somehow modified. Another thing with regards to in the police here, you have the pension plan, medical insurance, dental insurance, life insurance. Do they make any contribution to that, or is that all the taxpayers contribute to that?
There is some contribution, yeah.
that as well.
They make contributions
Yeah.
to their life insurance, because it seems some big numbers on that too. But they do for pensions. And also new ones coming on board. I don't know if you have a defined pension for all of them, but new ones in many companies now are going with 401Ks. And that reduces the amount of money that has to be put in by the taxpayer.
Right.
We have a state fund.
It's a
Is that
state-funded
defined?
pension.
The state fund pension, PRMS.
And that's for any
Through the
new
state. Correct.
coming on board. There is no way to really put a 401K into that.
We
It's
have
gotta be
through our
negotiated.
contract, through the officer contract.
And that brings up, when's the new contract?
This year,
This year.
it's due this year.
And when's it, what, a month to that, or is there a certain time?
Within the year, I mean, we're looking to start that sooner than later.
And that's like a 3-year contract?
It depends on what the arbitrate, or what the negotiations be. It could be 3, it could be 4, it could be 5, if we wanted, if everybody agreed. So
And who are the negotiators then?
the board with legal representation, and then
Police officer.
the police union.
Because it seems like it's going up. It looks like it's without a lid. And I'm concerned about that, you know, as a taxpayer. And I think all taxpayers should be concerned about it. And I understand this, the property tax is 1.25 mils. And that's going to go up too, I think, because at the end of the year, it's going to be sort of touch and go with regards to if there's any balance. So that's going to go up. So once it's started, it will continue to escalate, which I have no problem with the fact that having a property tax. But I think somebody's gotta look at all these line items and see what can be modified without really reducing the services or really significantly the income of some of our officers. First of all, I want the officers, we need the safety, we need the protection. I readily agree on that. But sometimes, are we overly generous? I'll leave that with you.
Thank you. Mr. Rhodes?
I just had a quick question.
Yeah, could you state your name for the record?
Tom Nash, Lawrence Lane.